Is this a sign of a brighter spring ahead? Today, we saw the pending home sales for the month of March come in better than expectations. The pending home sales index rose 4.1%, the highest level that we have seen since April of 2010. Does this indicate that the housing market is on the rebound? Let's try to get to the truth, because there are a lot of people with different opinions on this. I'm joined here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange by Michael Fetter, CEO of Radar Logic. Welcome to the show.
Hi,
and
Margaret.
Also joining us is Karl Case, co-creator of the Case-Shiller Index. He joins us from Newton, Massachusetts. So, Karl, how do you understand that pending home sales figure this morning?
Well, it's interesting, and it's a welcome sign. There's been a lot of street talk about the market picking up, but there's a lot of markets. I mean, when you look at the numbers that both Michael and we put out, they come from all over the place. Even I look within Massachusetts at zip code level indexes, and then some of them are up and some of them are down. But the fact is there was a lot of street talk about the spring market looking pretty good early on, and then February and March data started to come out. It looked like it was slowing down. Now it looks like maybe the weather has took away from from April and March and moved them into January and February. So it looks like there's some things positive happening out there, but there's no major move, there's no major takeoff going on in all markets. Some markets are clearing and some markets aren't.
Michael, is that how you understand the movement in the market?
Very much so. I think Karl's exactly right. In fact, we put out research this morning pointing out the fact that we think the mild winter has had a pull-through effect on housing sales in January, February, and March.
On people's willingness to actually sign contracts.
Well, I think it's less a motivator for somebody to actually buy a house who wasn't going to, but someone who might have waited until April, May, or June may have bought a house in February or March. So we think this could be temporary, and as Karl just suggested, while the market looks strong right now, it may weaken a little as we go forward.
Well, I'm going to have a conversation with the two of you because you have about prices, because you have different views on this. Your most recent report here, Michael, came out and said that you did see some stabilization in pricing, and you might actually be getting better in February. Karl here, with that index that just crossed the wire earlier this week, it showed that most of the cities in the 20 that you follow, you did see prices decline. So how do you understand that market versus Karl?
Well, first of all, I think there's a methodological difference between the way the RPX number is calculated and the way the Case-Shiller index is calculated.
You have a futures contract that trades off of this too.
We both do, actually, but the simple difference is that our number for February looked at data for just 28 days ending the middle of February. The Case-Shiller number looks at 90 days ended the middle of February. So there's going to be some inclusion in the Case-Shiller number of December and January data, which was weaker than February. They're saying the same thing. It's just that the RPX will see it a little quicker because we recalculated on a higher velocity data.
Karl, jump in here. You agree that the RPX is a little bit more forward-looking?
I don't disagree with that. We decided from the very beginning to be very cautious about calling changes until we really knew there were going to be changes. So we're looking at a moving average of 90 days, and so when we get new data, we are incorporating data from earlier, and so there's a built-in lag, and we don't apologize for it. It just you get an earlier look, perhaps, if it's a real change from Radar Logic, but we're nervous about calling a change until we see it over a slightly longer period of time. We also wait for closings, and closings occur sometime after the transaction's actually taken place. So it is true, you have to watch the timing issue between the two of us.
Well, it seems that it's more and more of a regional market. So can you make a macro call right now, Karl?
Well, I mean, macro is a tough field because you're adding up things that are different. I look at the zip code level indexes around here, and there are some that are up over the last 5 years. There are some that are down a lot. Mm-hmm. And so you're looking at a lot of apples and oranges. It's like the S&P 500. When it goes up, it's a whole bunch of stocks trading at different prices, some going up and some going down.
Do you want to jump in?
There is a force we think that's hitting the marketplace, and I'd love to hear Dr. Case's perspective. We think investment buyers are in fact driving prices up in some markets. We've seen more and more investment purchases in places like LA and Phoenix and even New York. And we're a little concerned that because investment buyers will ultimately, if they push prices up, price themselves out of a target rate of return, that could go away. So one of the concerns we have is, are we having a micro bubble fueled in part by the good weather and in part by this new trend in investment buying?
Do you buy that thesis?
Well, yeah, I do. There's a lot of talk about the lack of inventory in the good markets. That is, in the areas within cities where there's not a lot of foreclosure, where there's good houses. There's a lot of buyers. Some of them are baby boomers and born in the early part of the 60s who are still trading up. They've got equity because they bought before the booms. There's foreign demand. That demand is coming into the marketplace. Sellers are being slow. So the inventory numbers, if you look at the inventory of existing homes and inventory of new homes, we're down substantially. They're actually at record levels, and that's making it feel to buyers like there's no property out there, and that could lead to some little boomlets forming in various parts of the country and in various parts of cities. So I think this lack of inventory is a big thing. Now, the other thing is there's some household numbers that the census has put out that shows that there seems to be some comeback in the number of household formations.
Well, we're going to continue to watch that, Karl. Thank you very much, Michael, as well, for joining me here on the floor.